You wake the way a lamp comes back after wind. Flicker, steady, sting. Cold stone drinks the heat from your back. Iron taps your ankle when you move, a small reminder that your world has a radius. The room smells of oil, damp limestone, and the thin, sour thread of breath that never leaves cellars. Above, laughter travels across wood and plaster the way water runs over tile, an easy sound that tightens your gut because joy upstairs always costs someone downstairs. Footsteps. Heel to, not loud, just sure. The overseer fills the doorway like a gate that grew a face, scars laid into him like writing, whip looped over his shoulder, keys announcing his rank. Up, he says, not a raised voice, only a raised expectation. Wash, the master entertains. The last word is the long shadow that follows all the others. You pull on the linen tunic that passes for clothing, thin, the color of milk, obedient to someone else's idea of you. Water in a basin shocks your skin awake. The iron comes off your ankle with practiced clatter. It remains anyway, a phantom ring. Rules are recited the way a soldier recites drill. Eyes down unless addressed, hands steady, mouth quiet. Listen. Magistrates, he adds. Men of law. You have learned what that means. Plenty of language about justice to season an evening that needs seasoning. The corridor smells of bread and rosemary. It should comfort you. It doesn't. Kitchens in great houses prove that abundance and hunger can live back to back without exchanging words. A younger boy wobbles past with a tray of figs, his eyes asking questions your eyes have learned not to answer. Advice is kindness. Here, kindness is dangerous. In a side room, an older attendant combs your hair with the rough gentleness of someone who remembers scalps are skin. A clay dish of myrrh and oil makes your shoulders shine. The scent chooses a room in your brain you won't be able to lock again. Head straight, she mutters. Crooked invites games. Through the lattice, the house declares itself. Lamplight in the atrium pool, household gods watching from a niche, a bronze victory balanced on one foot as if she might leave but is too polite. The steward glides in with a tablet and an inventory of details for eyes. Your tunic falls right. Fear has been ironed into neutral. He nods once. The evening's first permission. Right-hand couch. Keep the talk smooth. You take the crater. Weight settles into your wrists like a familiar burden. The chain is gone, but service is just another kind of tether. Before diving into these forgotten stories of survival and suffering, if you enjoy learning about the hidden truths of history, consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more content like this. And please comment below to let me know where you're listening from. I find it incredible that we're exploring these ancient stories together from different parts of the world, connected across time and space by our shared curiosity about the past. You climb the last steps toward laughter, music, and lamps lifting little suns to the rafters. You keep your world small, one line ahead, one breath, one pour. In a city that divides lives into the width of a sandal on a stair, that almost counts as hope. The service passage is a river of tasks. Bread exhales heat. Rosemary snaps in a cook's fingers and trays drift like low boats between hands. In the prep room, tools of presentable weight, combs, oil, a pinch of crushed petals to persuade the air. The attendant works the comb through your hair. The oil draws gold lines along collarbone and shoulder. It is a costume stitched from light and smell. Beyond the lattice, the triclinium opens like a stage. Couches around a dolphin-carved table. Lampstands raising steady stars. A mosaic sea underfoot, whose tesserae try to convince you that stone can move. The steward checks the scene, corrects a curtain with a two-fingered whisper, then looks to you. One nod. You step in. Men recline with studied ease, rings scolding lamplight, sandals neatly paired under couches. Voices fly in braids, war news with recipe talk, tax disputes with poetry, law with laughter. You pour at the right-hand couch, the wine making a clean circle. A jurist says, "Good," without looking, and his knuckles brush your wrist by accident or practice. You learn to treat both as the same. Names of provinces unfold like a map pulled from a toga fold. Hispania, Asia, Africa. The empire is a habit in their mouths, a board they move pieces on with verbs. Someone says law and the room tilts its ear. Law is furniture in a house like this, beautiful, heavy, used to keep others in place. You serve it in cups, requests arrive in euphemism. Lighter cups means stay near. Sing rustic means be brave for us so we can applaud your bravery safely. The steward's eyebrow becomes a signal flag. You read it, you obey. Training has taught your muscles to be answers before questions finish forming. Around the edges, other lives work. A girl with a braid tight enough to ache, a boy steady with a platter of olives, an older man whose limp is an archived story. You know their origins the way you know your own pulse, debt, war, birth. The house uses different ports but sails the same ship. Later, when wine loosens knots, talk widens and coarsens. Jokes grow larger, hands less careful. Philosophy becomes sport. The laughter that first sounded harmless now wears teeth. You do. The small arithmetic of survival, where to stand to be invisible but available, how full to fill so tongues move but tempers don't, when to go still so a gaze slides past like water over tile. On the surface you are composure poured thin, cups that do not spill, answers that do not arrive late, a posture that suggests objects can be graceful. Underneath, you maintain a shoreline of self the chain cannot reach, a quiet place with room for one thought at a time. Not yet. The lamps turn oil into gold and make the room look kinder than it is. The steward glances. You cross to the next. Couch. The evening is far from finished, but your measure of it stays small by intention. One breath, one pour, one unbroken cup between now and whatever comes next. The air changes before you see the square. It thickens, carrying the sour weight of too many bodies pressed together, of iron warmed by sun, of hope leaking from mouths that bargain in too many accents. When you are pushed into the open, the sound hits you first. Auctioneer's cadence. Buyers arguing, children crying, the whip's sharp syllable when someone hesitates. Then comes the smell. Sweat caked into linen, oil poured too heavy on bare shoulders, and fear, always fear, sharper than vinegar. You are placed on a wooden platform, the grain rough under your feet. A boy to your left tries not to sob. His ribs shake like a bird in cold. A girl to your right keeps her eyes fixed on the horizon, as if she might climb into it if she stares hard enough. Around you, buyers circle with the patience of wolves. They prod biceps, press teeth open with fingers, lift chins the way farmers check horses. You learn quickly, you are not being looked at, you are being weighed. The auctioneer's voice performs its ritual. Age, height, origin, each syllable peeled from you like skin. Healthy, he declares, compliant, and the word draws, chuckles because compliance is always a question with an answer purchased later in blood. Silver glints like sunlight caught in bowls. Every coin is another piece of your future being shaved off and sold. The man who wins you wears purple edging on his tunic. His sandals are clean, his fingers soft, his smile rehearsed. He doesn't look at you as a person might, but as a man looks at a table he has commissioned, already imagining where he will place it, how it will serve, how it will impress guests. His steward takes your chain. You step down. The boy to your left is bought by a farmer, the girl by a soldier. You three will never meet again, except perhaps in dreams that keep dragging you back to this platform. You are oiled before leaving, your skin made to shine, not kindness. Merchandise gleams better in lamplight. The merchant counts his silver again, your father's debt transfigured into another man's satisfaction. As you are led away, the market swells behind you, another batch of children being herded toward the block. Their cries tangle in the air, threads of a tapestry you've already been woven into. That night, you sleep in a different cell, in a different city, under the same truth. You are no longer a son or brother or shepherd's child. You are property. Tomorrow, someone else will decide what that means. The new house rises like a monument carved to impress gods. Marble pillars bite the sky. Mosaics shimmer under torchlight. Frescoes bloom across walls with colors brighter than any field of flowers. You stand at its threshold with chains still warm from the march. Beauty should awe. Instead, it warns. Decoration here is not about life, but about possession. The same principle that brought you through its doors. Inside, the corridors echo with footsteps trained to be quiet. Servants pass you without meeting your eyes, each one wrapped in silence, like armor. You notice the sameness. Young faces, polished hair, tunics cut not for warmth but display. Their looks are mirrors of your own fate, polished to reflect another man's power. The steward greets you with the flat courtesy of someone who has repeated this speech many times. Rules are spoken like commandments. Speak only when summoned. Never look directly at free men. Eat what you are given. Sleep when told. The last rule lingers. Serve in whatever capacity required. You understand none of the euphemisms need translating. Your quarters are below ground, a row of small cells pressed into stone. The door clangs shut, and the dark presses close. A boy introduces himself in whispers. Marcus, older by 2 years but hollow already, like a candle that burned too long. He warns you without warning. When they call you upstairs, do what they want. Resistance is remembered longer than obedience. His eyes carry a depth that belongs to men twice his age. At dusk, lamps are lit above. Music filters down. Flute, notes winding through laughter. The steward appears with oil and a clean tunic. He examines you as one might inspect a jug before pouring wine. The guests prefer new faces, he says. Tonight, you will pour. You are scrubbed until your skin burns, your hair combed until your scalp stings. A thin chain is left at your wrist, not restraint but reminder. The triclinium is a theatre. Men recline on couches, gold cups lifted, voices competing. They speak of justice, of wars, of philosophy. Words that sound noble until you notice the laughter that follows, the careless eyes that drift toward you. You pour wine. You try to disappear into service. Yet their gaze clings, heavy as chains. One hand lingers too long on your shoulder. Another tilts your chin upward to check your teeth again as though purchase hasn't been settled. Every gesture teaches you the house's language. Wealth is entitlement, laughter is threat, beauty is currency. By the time the lamps burn low and the songs grow cruder, you understand that your new life is not a chapter but a sentence. The House of Columns has opened its doors, and you have stepped into its stomach. From here on, you are something it will digest slowly, thoroughly, without end. The lamps burn lower, wine spills richer, and the laughter turns from philosophy to something hungrier. You stand at the edge of the room, pitcher trembling in your hands, trying to remain invisible. But invisibility is not allowed here. A guest, older, his beard streaked with silver, beckons you. His smile carries no warmth, only possession. Sit, he says, patting the couch beside him. You freeze, and the steward's hand shoves you forward. At first, the man's words sound harmless enough. He asks where you are from, whether you like Athens, whether you are fed well. But his hand drifts from your shoulder to your back, down your arm, lingering too long. His voice lowers, his breath thick with wine, and suddenly you understand what Marcus meant in the cellar. Resistance will be remembered longer than obedience. You try to pull away, but laughter erupts across the room. It is not the laughter of amusement. It is the laughter of men watching power demonstrate itself. Their eyes follow as your body stiffens, as your voice trembles. When you whisper no, the word evaporates in the smoke-filled air. They do not hear it, or they choose not to. For them, this is not cruelty. It is entertainment. The first, hand becomes two, then more. Someone drags you down, and the silk cushions swallow your cries. The weight of bodies presses against you, and the room spins with wine fumes and incense. You feel fabric tearing, laughter sharpening, the air turning heavy with a new stench, sweat and fear. The philosophers who debate justice by day watch. As justice is extinguished before them, their hands steady as they pour more wine. When it ends, you are led downstairs, not carried, not comforted. The door shuts behind you with a sound like finality. You lie on the straw mattress, staring at the ceiling, unable to move. Your ribs ache from struggling. Your throat burns from swallowed sobs. But it is your mind that feels most broken. Childhood ended in one evening, not in a battlefield or by disease, but in laughter and silk under torchlight, while men quoted poetry about the beauty of the human soul. Sleep does not come. When you close your eyes, the room replays itself. Every laugh, every touch, every betrayal of silence. Around you, other boys lie awake too. They do not ask what happened. They know. In this house, the details are always the same. Only the names change. You are no longer a boy from the village. You are an object the house has claimed. Tonight was not the beginning of cruelty. It was the first lesson that cruelty is now your life. Days turn into weeks, and you begin to understand the machinery behind the marble walls. It is not chaos. It is a system, crafted to break you as efficiently as a smith forging iron. The overseer Demetrius is both jailer and teacher. He explains nothing directly, but every punishment, every withheld meal, every calculated kindness is a lesson. The first lesson is isolation. You are cut off from everything familiar, your language, your family, even your own name. They rename you, a Greek word that feels alien on your tongue. You are forbidden to speak your native language, even with other captives. Each time you slip, a lash follows, the sting teaching you that memory is dangerous. The second lesson is unpredictability. One day you are ignored, the next you are summoned without warning. Tasks shift from serving food to enduring entertainment at the whim of guests. The uncertainty gnaws deeper than hunger. You lie awake wondering if tomorrow you will be beaten, used, or simply left in silence. The waiting itself becomes torture. The third lesson is reward. Compliance brings scraps of comfort, a warmer blanket, an extra fig, a softer word from Demetrius. These crumbs of humanity twist your instincts. You begin to crave approval, to anticipate moods, to smile when commanded. It feels safer, but each concession chips away at the person you once were. The fourth lesson is hierarchy. New slaves bear the worst of it, fresh meat for guests. Survivors may be shifted to lesser duties, kitchen, errands, tending lamps, but those roles are not given. They are earned through surrender. You watch Marcus, the boy from your first night, bend lower with each passing week. His eyes dull, but his body remains untouched more often. He has learned how to disappear into compliance. You hate him for it, and you envy him. The final lesson is the erasure of hope. Escape attempts are punished in ways that scar beyond flesh. One boy tried to run. They dragged him back, chained him naked in the courtyard for 3 days. Each visitor encouraged to strike him. He lived, but something inside him had died, and afterward he obeyed with the quietness of stone. That memory becomes your invisible chain, more binding than iron. In time, you stop thinking of if. You think only of when. When they summon you, when they laugh, when they take. Time itself reshapes into a cycle of fear, pain, numbness, and brief mercies that feel like blessings but are simply different shades of cruelty. The house has broken many before you. You realize with growing dread that it will break you too. Not with a single blow, but slowly, carefully, the way water carves valleys through stone. Drop by drop, night after night, until nothing of the boy remains. The first time you are paraded into the grand hall for a symposium, you think it might be different. The lamps glow brighter, the couches gleam with embroidery, and the air hums with the fragrance of roasted lamb and spiced wine. You hear the names of men you once thought gods, philosophers, statesmen, men whose speeches shaped the fate of Athens. Tonight they recline casually, their words flowing like the wine that fills your trembling hands. At first, you almost forget where you are. The conversation is dazzling. They debate the meaning of justice, the shape of the ideal city, the mysteries of the soul. You balance jugs of wine, catching fragments of wisdom that might one day be etched into scrolls. You think, perhaps here, in the presence of greatness, the cruelty will stop. But as the night deepens and cups refill faster, the masks begin to slip. Voices grow louder, laughter cruder. The philosopher who only hours ago argued for self-control now slaps your hip as you pass, urging you to move faster. The politician who spoke of virtue leans close to whisper a demand you barely understand, but instinctively fear. The merchant who funds temples of the gods lets his hand wander over the arm of a boy beside you, while others chuckle and pretend not to notice. You realize with sickening clarity, the symposium is not about ideas. It is about power. The debates are foreplay, the philosophy a mask. Beneath the polished words lies appetite, raw and unashamed. You and the other slaves are decorations until the guests decide you are entertainment. Demetrius's voice echoes in your head. Compliance earns. Survival. When a guest pulls you down to recline beside him, you force yourself not to resist. His perfume is cloying, heavy enough to choke, but it cannot mask the wine-stained breath or the hunger in his eyes. The laughter around you sharpens, no longer about ideas, but about your humiliation. They do not see contradiction between justice debated in daylight and injustice inflicted at night. To them, you are not human. You are the price of their leisure. By the time dawn's pale light slips through the shutters, the great minds of Athens lie sprawled in drunken sleep, their brilliance spent, their cruelty satisfied. You and the other slaves shuffle back to the cellar, bodies aching, souls quieter than ever. You carry with you a truth no scroll will ever record, that behind every line of poetry, every statue, every law debated in the agora, there are bruises and scars, hidden beneath tunics of nameless boys. In the months that follow, you learn the symposium is not just entertainment, it is politics. Alliances are forged not through handshakes, but through shared indulgence, sealed by the silence of those forced to endure. One night, a guest arrives, whose name you've heard whispered with reverence in the city. He is a general, victorious in war, the kind of man statues are raised for. He laughs as he boasts of conquering armies, then gestures to you as though selecting a piece of meat. "Let the boy serve me," he declares. His words are not a request, but a command disguised as humor. The others laugh and nod, eager to be seen in agreement. You kneel beside him, pouring wine into his cup. His hand clamps the back of your neck, holding you in place as he continues speaking about honor and bravery in battle. His grip tightens every time the room grows quiet, as though punctuating his words with your fear. For him, you are both prop and proof. If he can dominate you in front of peers, his authority grows. Later, another man challenges him, not with weapons, but with you. He demands you attend to him instead, mocking the general's appetite. The laughter that follows is sharper, tinged with rivalry. The struggle for dominance plays out not on the battlefield, but through your body. Each order is a strike, each humiliation a weapon. You realize with horror, you are not a person to them. You are currency, traded for influence, proof of status, in a hierarchy built on suffering. The cruelty is deliberate, not careless. Every touch, every command, every laugh serves a purpose, to reinforce who holds power and who does not. Even the philosopher who once whispered gentler words uses you to display his authority. He does not need to be violent. He only needs to show that even wisdom bends to appetite. In this theatre of politics, your silence becomes part of the script. If you scream, they laugh louder. If you resist, you prove the general's strength when he breaks you. If you obey, you confirm his authority with your compliance. There is no choice that preserves dignity. That is the design. By the end of the night, you understand what Demetrius meant when he called the house a school. It is not a school for you. It is a school for them. Each symposium teaches the powerful that cruelty has no consequence, that silence can be purchased, that dignity can be stolen and displayed like treasure. And each lesson ensures the cycle will continue, long after your name and body have been forgotten. The slave market in Rome smells of iron and fear. You stand on a wooden platform, naked under the Mediterranean sun, your skin slick with the oil the merchants rubbed on you to make your muscles glisten. Around you, buyers move like vultures circling a carcass. Merchants, senators, generals, their eyes sharp, their fingers tapping coin purses. The auctioneer lists your attributes like a farmer advertising livestock: age, strength, teeth, breeding, potential. Each word slices deeper, severing the last ties between you and the child you once were. You hear laughter ripple through the crowd when the auctioneer emphasizes your beauty, your pleasing figure. The laughter is not kind, it is knowing. Men lean closer, appraising you with looks that burn worse than the sun. You stand frozen, wishing to vanish, but the iron collar around your neck drags you back to reality. The bidding begins. Voices, bark numbers, hands rise, silver flashes in the air. Your life is reduced to a contest of wealth, a game for men whose luxury is built on your despair. When the hammer falls, you belong to a man named Decimus. He is richly dressed, his robe edged, with purple dye that only the elite can afford. His smile tells you everything. He is pleased with his purchase. As coins change hands, you realize your father sold you once, but now you've been sold again. And again, each transaction peeling away your humanity until nothing remains but value. You're led through the streets like a prize animal. Crowds part for your new master, some casting pitying glances, others indifference. The city dazzles, marble temples, bustling markets, fountains spilling endless water. But you cannot see beauty. You see only the iron chain in your hand, and the man who holds the other end. Every step echoes with the truth. You are property, merchandise, something to be consumed and discarded. That night, Decimus parades you before guests at a banquet. They admire you as one might a rare gem, asking about your origin, your health, your docility. You hear their words but cannot process them. Your ears ring with the finality of being owned. When they toast your master's new acquisition, raising cups of wine, you know the toast is not for you. It is to celebrate the conquest of your body and the erasure of your will. You are not a person in this room. You are evidence of Decimus's wealth, proof of his dominance, and fodder for his guests' amusement. The boy who once dreamed beneath olive trees is gone. What remains is an object, displayed for the powerful to measure, consume, and discard. The triclinium, the Roman dining hall, is a theatre where cruelty masquerades as sophistication. Reclining couches line the room, draped with silks and attended by servants carrying trays of roasted meats and honeyed wine. Gold gleams in every corner, on the cups, on the jewelry, even on the sandals of the men who recline like gods. You move silently among them, pouring wine, offering fruit, kneeling when commanded. At first, the tasks seem ordinary. You refill cups, wipe spills, carry platters. But soon, the tone shifts. The laughter grows louder, the questions sharper. "Bring the boy closer," one guest demands. Let's see the merchandise our friend Decimus has acquired. You are pulled forward into the circle of lamplight, your face burning as a dozen eyes strip away the last shreds of dignity. One man grips your chin, turning your head from side to side as though inspecting a horse. Another tugs your arm, praising the firmness of your muscle. Someone laughs, saying Decimus has chosen well. The laughter is followed by whispers, and then by demands that you sing, that you dance, that you entertain them beyond mere service. You stumble through their requests, each one more humiliating than the last. When you falter, Decimus intervenes, not to protect you, but to preserve his investment. He strikes you sharply across the face, sending stars exploding across your vision. The guests laugh again, louder this time, enjoying not just your humiliation but the spectacle of your master's authority. Your pain is their entertainment, proof of the social order they all benefit from. As the night drags on, the air thickens with wine and cruelty. Guests begin wagering, not on dice or races, but on you. How long can you stand without trembling? How loudly will you scream when struck? How quickly will you obey the next degrading command? Each guess is accompanied by coins tossed onto the table, a grotesque game where your suffering becomes their currency. You stand in the center of the room, your body aching, your soul shrinking, realizing that there is no bottom to their appetite. No act is too cruel, no demand too absurd. The symposiums you once feared in Athens are reborn here in Rome, draped in different costumes, but unchanged in essence. Power still delights in breaking the powerless. By the time the banquet ends, you are not simply exhausted, you are emptied. The guests depart, full of meat and wine, satisfied with the night's entertainments. Decimus pats your shoulder as though you were a favored pet. You feel nothing. No rage, no sorrow, no resistance. Only the hollow silence that fills the space where a human being used to live. The morning after the banquet, you wake with a swollen cheek and bruised ribs, reminders of the games the guests played. Sunlight filters weakly through a narrow slit of a window, but it brings no comfort. Before you can even rise, a guard kicks the door to your quarters and orders you into the courtyard. Today, he says, you are to be trained. The courtyard is enclosed by high walls, painted with faded frescoes of Roman gods. But the gods offer no protection here. This is not a temple of worship, but an arena of discipline. Other slaves stand, in line, their faces downcast, their bodies marked with scars. You take your place among them, heart pounding. The overseer arrives, a former gladiator with shoulders like marble columns and eyes like flint. His voice is iron, each command sharp enough to cut. Kneel, stand, bow, smile, look away, hold, the tray steady. Move faster, slower, again. His commands are relentless, designed not just to teach obedience, but to erase the thought that you could ever disobey. You drop a cup once. It slips from your shaking fingers and shatters on the stone. The courtyard falls silent. Then the overseer is on you, his whip singing through the air. The first strike burns, the second blinds you with pain, the third empties you of breath. By the fifth, you're on your knees, choking on dust, too afraid to cry out. The lesson is simple. Mistakes are not errors, they are crimes. To falter is to invite pain. You understand now why the other slaves move like shadows. Silent, precise, mechanical. They have been taught, beaten, reshaped into extensions of their master's will. When the overseer finally dismisses you, your back is raw, your arms trembling. But worse than the physical pain is the knowledge that the training worked. Already, you feel yourself calculating every movement, every gesture, every breath to avoid the whip's song. Freedom has been replaced with anticipation of command. That night, lying on your straw mat, you realize the overseer has done more than bruise your flesh. He has carved lines into your spirit. Each strike has whispered a new truth. You are powerless. Your survival depends on submission. Your body is no longer yours. You stare at the ceiling, hearing again and again the snap of the whip until it becomes part of your heartbeat. This is how they break you. Not in one moment of violence, but in the repetition of it, until obedience becomes instinct, until pain is not a punishment, but the air you breathe. And you know now, this is only the beginning. Days later, your wounds still ache when Decimus announces that tonight there will be games. The word fills the household with dread. Servants whisper warnings. Older slaves avoid your gaze. You soon understand why. The atrium is transformed into a stage. Torches burn high on the walls, casting long shadows that dance like demons. Cushions and couches are arranged in a semicircle where Decimus and his guests recline, wine in hand, waiting for the evening's amusement. In the center of the floor lies a simple square of sand, raked smooth as if preparing for combat. You are pushed into the ring with another boy, no older than 16. His eyes are wide, his face pale. You've seen him around the kitchen, carrying water, scrubbing floors. Tonight, however, he is not a worker, he is prey. Entertain us, Decimus commands. A guard tosses 2 wooden rods into the sand. You and the boy stare at them, then at each other. The silence stretches until Decimus snaps his fingers. The guards step forward, whips coiled. You understand. Refusal is not an option. The boy picks up his rod with shaking hands. You pick up yours, your stomach turning. The guests lean forward, eager. This is their sport. Not gladiators in an arena, but children forced to mimic violence for the amusement of men too cowardly to fight themselves. The first blow you strike is half-hearted. The overseer's whip answers instantly, lashing your calf with searing pain. The second strike is harder. The boy cries out, swinging wildly at you in return. Soon, the ring echoes with the sound of wood against flesh, of gasps and laughter, of 2 broken spirits colliding while the masters drink and cheer. Every strike tears at more than your body. It strips away pieces of who you were until you are nothing but desperation and obedience. The boy across from you sobs as he swings, his tears mixing with blood on the sand. You want to stop. You want to tell him it isn't his fault. But the guards are watching, whips ready, and the laughter of the guests demands more violence. When the game ends, neither of you can stand. You collapse in the sand, bodies bruised, spirits shattered, while the guests applaud as though they've witnessed great theatre. Decimus raises his cup in a toast. To discipline, he says, his voice dripping with satisfaction. The others echo his words, drinking to the sight of your humiliation. The boy beside you whispers a single word before he faints. Why? You have no answer. Because power demands cruelty. Because suffering has become spectacle. Because in Rome, your pain is not tragedy, but entertainment. As they drag you back to the cells, your body broken, your ears still ringing with laughter, you realize that survival here is not about strength or defiance. It is about learning to endure humiliation so complete that even the gods must look away. You are taken to the forum one morning, not as a buyer, not even as a bystander, but as the merchandise itself. Chains bite into your wrists as you shuffle with a group of others toward the raised wooden platform in the heart of the Roman market. The smell of fish, olives, and freshly baked bread fills the air, but beneath it lies something fouler, the scent of human fear. Buyers crowd the square, wealthy citizens in flowing togas, their rings glinting in the sunlight. They are not here for food or tools. They are here for bodies. The auctioneer's voice booms above the din, listing attributes like items from a catalogue. Strong arms for labour, steady hands for weaving, pleasing faces for household service. Each word strips away another layer of humanity until you are nothing but a commodity measured in denarii. When your turn comes, the guard shoves you forward into the sunlight. The crowd murmurs with interest. You are ordered to remove your tunic. The thin fabric slides from your shoulders, leaving you exposed before dozens of calculating eyes. Fingers prod your muscles. Nails pinch your skin. Mouths mutter appraisals like farmers examining a horse. Someone forces open your mouth to check your teeth. Another tests your grip. Another comments on the color of your eyes. The bidding begins. Voices rise, silver clinks, hands wave. You stand frozen as strangers barter for your future. Each increase in price feels like a nail hammered into your soul, a declaration that you are valuable not as a person, but as property. When the hammer falls and a man steps forward with a victorious smile, you know that your life now belongs to him entirely. He is wealthy. His tunic dyed in deep purple, a color reserved for power. His soft hands speak of indulgence, not labor. The way his eyes linger on you tells you everything. You are not bought for fieldwork or craftsmanship. You are bought for pleasure, for nights when wine loosens tongues and cruelty becomes entertainment. As you are led away, the crowd turns to the next body, their interest already shifting. A child younger than you, perhaps 10, is pushed forward, his sobs drowned out by the auctioneer's booming voice. You realize with horror that the market will never be empty, that Rome's hunger for flesh is endless. Back in the villa, you are washed, oiled, and dressed in a thin garment designed to accentuate rather than conceal. You are no longer a boy from a village or a son to grieving parents. You are a possession, purchased and displayed like a rare vase or a prized stallion. The chains may be removed from your wrists, but you feel them still, etched into your skin, carved into your very identity. And as the villa gates close behind you, shutting out the world beyond, you understand. The market did not end when the bidding stopped. You will be sold again and again, your body, your dignity, your very soul, until there is nothing left to trade. The villa is alive with preparation. Servants rush through marble halls, carrying trays of roasted meats, amphorae, of wine, baskets of figs and olives. Torches blaze in iron sconces, filling the air with heat and smoke. Tonight, your new master entertains guests of high rank, senators, generals, men who shape the fate of empires. You are bathed and perfumed, your hair combed until it gleams, your body rubbed with oil that makes your skin shine in the torchlight. The garment you are given is translucent, more costume than clothing. It clings to your form, designed to draw eyes and provoke desire. When you catch your reflection in a polished bronze mirror, you don't recognize the face staring back. The atrium becomes a theater of decadence. Guests recline on couches arranged in a semicircle, their fingers heavy with jewels, their laughter thick with wine. Musicians pluck lyres, dancers spin in practiced routines, the air thick with incense that masks the underlying stench of sweat and anticipation. At first, your duties are simple. Pour wine, serve platters, refill goblets. But you notice the way conversations falter when you approach, the way eyes follow you across the room, the way hands linger too long when accepting a cup. You understand what is coming, though dread makes your stomach twist. It begins with a command. A senator, his voice slurred with drink, beckons you forward. He tells you to kneel and play a part in a performance the guests have devised. The others cheer, banging cups on the marble floor. You hesitate, and the room grows quiet. A single glance from your master reminds you of the whip, the punishments, the consequences. Your body obeys even as your spirit screams. The performance escalates. One guest demands a song from your homeland. Another orders you to dance. Another insists you feed him grapes from your own mouth. Each command strips away another layer of dignity until you are no longer serving, but performing degradation. The laughter grows louder, the applause more frenzied. You realize with sick clarity that your humiliation is their entertainment. When the feast reaches its peak, the games turn darker. A guest suggests a contest. Who can devise the most creative way to use the slaves for amusement? Ideas are thrown like dice. Mock battles, forced dances, degrading acts disguised as comedy. The room becomes a carnival of cruelty, and you are its centerpiece. The worst part is not the violence, not even the touch of hands that treat you as object rather than human. The worst part is the indifference. These men discuss politics, philosophy, and military campaigns between bouts of your degradation. They sip wine, debate the Senate's next decision, and then turn back to watch you suffer as if flipping between topics of equal weight. By the time the feast ends, your body is trembling, your throat raw from suppressed sobs. You are dismissed not with thanks, but with a wave of the hand, like a tool no longer needed. As you collapse onto the straw mat in your cell, the echoes of their laughter follow you into the darkness. You understand now, in Rome, cruelty is not a secret vice. It is a public ritual, celebrated in marble halls, sanctified by power, and disguised as entertainment. The next morning, you are summoned to the atrium, where the overseer waits with a wax tablet and stylus. He studies you for a long moment, then writes something down. A new name, a Roman name. The sound of it feels strange in your ears when he pronounces it, sharp and foreign, cutting away the last tether to the life you once had. Your real name, the one your mother whispered when she tucked you into bed, the one your father called when he wanted help in the fields, has been erased. It is forbidden now, forbidden even in thought. If you are caught speaking it, you will be whipped. If others hear you recall it, they will be punished too. In this house, you are not who you were. You are who they decide you are. The act seems simple, just a word, just a label, but you feel it crush something inside you. A name is more than sound. It is memory, lineage, connection. To lose it is to become unmoored, to drift in an ocean without anchor or compass. You are adrift now, a vessel carrying only sorrow. The overseer explains that your old language is no longer permitted. Latin is your tongue now, and you will learn it whether you wish to or not. Each mispronunciation earns a blow. Each lapse into your native speech another scar. At first you resist silently, whispering your old words in the quiet of your cell. But over time, the fear seeps deeper, until even in your dreams, the old syllables fade. The other slaves understand your pain. They have lost names too. Names from Gaul, from Syria, from Nubia, from lands so far away you can hardly imagine them. At night, when the guards are drowsy, some whisper their true names in secret, fragile sparks of defiance flickering in the dark. You join them once, breathing your name into the straw, tasting salt on your lips as tears blur your vision. But the fear of punishment is stronger, and soon even these whispers feel too dangerous. As weeks pass, you feel the transformation working. You respond automatically to the Roman name, flinching at it, obeying it, hearing it as if it has always belonged to you. When you try to summon your true name, it stumbles on your tongue like a forgotten prayer. It slips further away each day until you are no longer sure you could pronounce it correctly if you tried. This is how Rome breaks people, not only with chains and whips, but with words. By reshaping what you are called, they reshape who you are. By severing the thread between past and present, they ensure there is no future but the one they allow. You begin to understand that slavery is not merely about work or obedience. It is about annihilation, a slow erasure of the self, one word at a time. And yet, deep in the hollowed-out chambers of your heart, something remains. The faintest ember of memory, a whisper of the boy you were. It flickers weakly, but it is still there. You hold on to it silently, knowing it may be the only thing left that is truly yours. Weeks later, your master takes you to the amphitheater, not as a spectator, but as part of his entourage. You follow in his shadow, carrying a jug of wine and a bronze cup, your eyes cast down to avoid drawing attention. Yet nothing can stop the spectacle from searing itself into your mind. The amphitheater is vast, its stone tiers rising high above the arena. Tens of thousands of citizens pack the seats, their voices a roaring sea of excitement. Trumpets blare, banners wave, and beneath it all lies the stench of blood baking under the sun. At first, you think you are simply here to serve wine, but then the master orders you closer to the edge of the arena. He wants you to see. He wants you to learn. Gladiators clash in the dust below, their bodies gleaming with sweat, their weapons flashing in arcs of death. The crowd cheers each strike, each wound, each death. But what shocks you most is not the violence itself. It is the joy. The way thousands of people rise to their feet, screaming with delight as a man's throat is cut, as another begs for mercy only to be denied. You realize the feast you endured in the villa was not an isolated cruelty. It was part of something larger, a culture that exalts suffering as spectacle. In the amphitheater, Rome reveals itself naked and unashamed. Violence is entertainment, degradation a public ritual, and human lives expendable currency for collective pleasure. Then the games shift. The next act is not gladiators but prisoners, slaves condemned to die. They are led into the arena naked, trembling, their chains rattling with each step. The announcer declares their crimes, though you know most are guilty only of defiance or misfortune. The crowd doesn't care. The sentence is death, and the method is humiliation. Wild animals are released. Lions, bears, wolves, all starved and enraged, their roars shaking the ground. The prisoners scatter, but there is nowhere to run. The beasts tear into flesh, jaws snapping, claws raking. Blood sprays the sand as screams echo to the highest seats. The crowd roars louder, intoxicated by the horror. Your master watches calmly, sipping wine, occasionally commenting on the spectacle as though discussing a play. When a lion drags a man by his leg across the arena, he laughs softly, calling it well staged. He hands you the cup, and when your trembling spills a drop, he strikes you sharply across the face. The pain burns, but worse is the realization. You are as expendable as the men below. One day, it could be you in the arena, stripped, exposed, devoured for the amusement of strangers. The amphitheater is a mirror, showing you not just Rome's appetite, but your own fate should you falter. That night, back in your cell, you cannot sleep. You hear the crowd's roar in your ears, feel the spray of blood on your skin, smell the iron tang of death in the air. Rome has shown you its heart, and it is a heart of stone, beating to the rhythm of cruelty. You think you have seen the depths of Roman cruelty, but the banquet reveals another layer, one that disguises torment beneath laughter, silk, and song. The villa is alive with preparations. Slaves scurry through marble halls, carrying amphorae of wine, platters of roasted meats, baskets of figs and honey cakes. Torches are lit, music rehearsed, cushions fluffed. You are dressed differently tonight, not in coarse linen, but in a tunic dyed crimson, cut deliberately to expose more of your body. Jewelry is placed on your arms, not as honor, but as decoration, like gilding on a sacrificial animal. The guests arrive in a procession of perfumes and chatter, senators, generals, poets, men whose words will be carved into history. They recline on couches, their robes flowing, their voices loud. To any outsider, it looks like a gathering of wisdom and refinement. To you, it is a trap. The banquet begins, innocently enough. Slaves pour wine, musicians play flutes, dancers whirl between tables. You serve your master faithfully, filling cups, presenting food, keeping your eyes low. But soon, the tone shifts. The wine flows faster, laughter grows. Louder, inhibitions loosen. The talk of philosophy and politics fades into crude jokes and whispered dares. Then the games begin. Guests select slaves at random, ordering them forward for amusement. Some are made to dance clumsily while nobles mock them. Others are forced to strip and mimic animals for the crowd's delight. A boy not much younger than you is ordered to sing, his voice shaking as he struggles to remember the words. When he falters, the guests clap ironically, jeering until tears stream down his face. Finally, it is your turn. A guest calls for you, A man with gold rings stacked on every finger and a smile that makes your stomach twist. He demands you kneel at his couch. You obey, every muscle trembling. He strokes your hair like one would pet a dog, then pushes bread into your mouth while the others laugh. Look, he says, like feeding a tame beast. The room erupts in applause. The humiliation burns hotter than any whip. You swallow the bread, dry and tasteless, feeling your dignity disintegrate grain by grain. To the nobles, this is nothing, an evening's entertainment forgotten by morning. But to you, it is indelible, carved into your memory like a scar. The banquet ends hours later, when the guests collapse into drunken stupors. The floor is littered with spilled wine, gnawed bones, torn fruit skins. You and the others clean the mess in silence, stepping carefully around sleeping bodies. Every crumb, every stain, must be erased before dawn, as though the night's cruelties never happened. As you scrub, you glance at your reflection in a silver platter. The face staring back is yours, but also not. It is painted with shame, hollowed by fear, stripped of identity. The boy who once laughed under the olive trees is gone. In his place is an object, a mask shaped like a human face, hiding the emptiness beneath. Despite the suffocating weight of Rome's dominance, whispers move through the slave quarters like smoke through cracks in stone. You first hear them from an old Thracian, a man with scars like tree roots across his back. At night, when guards grow careless, he murmurs names: Spartacus, Crixus, Oenomaus, rebels who once shook Rome itself. At first, you think these are myths, stories meant to soothe despair. But the Thracian insists they were real. He had seen it with his own eyes. Slaves in chains rising against their masters, gladiators breaking free, an army swelling from the fields and mines, shaking the empire to its foundations. They almost won, he says, his voice rough with both pride and regret. For a time, Rome trembled. Because your suffering, and the suffering of thousands like you, lingers beyond marble and empire. It seeps into the foundations of history itself, whispering warnings across centuries. Every time someone studies Rome's glory, they must confront the hidden truth. All that brilliance was built on bones like yours. And in that truth lies your final victory. You were not invisible. You endured, and in enduring, you forced history to remember.